Hi, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Bree. Today's video, we're going to be doing the mid-year freakout tag, which is one of my favorite things to do every year. It's just kind of where in the middle of the year, you do this tag and talk about all the books you've read so far and what's your favorite, least favorite, things like that. I'm sure you've seen this tag around a lot. It's just always really fun for me. I always have such a good time reminiscing on the books I've read and enjoyed this year. So as you can see, I've pulled a lot of stacks so I can talk about different books. But without further ado, let's just get right into it. I guess I should get these in order, shouldn't I? So the first one is best book of the year so far, and I had two I could pick for this option, but the next one is about sequels, so I'm gonna talk about just a standalone for my favorite book of the year. And this is one that, since I read it, I can't stop thinking about it. I always reference it and talk about it, and I think it's gonna go down as one of my favorite gothic horror books, and that is House of Hunger by Alexis Henderson. This is about a young girl who wants to have a better life for herself, and so she one day signs up to become a blood maiden to this house. And when she gets there, she basically knows that she's going to be giving her blood to the lady of the house, and in exchange, she will get a stipend and lots of money, where she will then one day be able to live on her own and never have to work again. And when she gets there, she realizes that the house is not quite what it seems, and there's just some weird things going on, and it's a slowly creepy story, and the atmosphere in this is just perfect. I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. I think I read this in like February, and I can't stop thinking about it since, and it's definitely going to be on the top books of the year, and it's one of like earlier books that I read in the year. So very happy I got to this, because I also had DNF'd The Year of the Witching before, just from trigger warning content. So going back into another Alexis Henderson was a little nerve-wracking for me, but I knew I liked her writing and her storytelling. It was just whether or not it was going to be too much for me, and this was perfect. So we'll definitely be picking up her new release that comes out later in the year. Then the next question is best sequel of the year so far, and this one is where I kind of was going to say best books of the year, but I feel like it fits in this perfectly as well, because that is Kingdom of Copper and Empire of Gold, which are the second and third books to The City of Brass. This one I gave 4 stars when I read it. I enjoyed it, but I wouldn't say I was like blown away by it. I thought it was really good, and I was intrigued to continue. But these were so good. Like, I cannot describe to you like how much I love this series. And it's slow moving, it's character building, and just like a slow kind of political plot, but it's not boring, and I love it so much. So this one I gave 5 stars, and then this one I gave 5 stars. So I guess I could have gone with this because it was the direct sequel to City of Brass, but I think they both just blew me away equally, and I loved it. I think it was the best conclusion to a trilogy I've ever read. It's the best trilogy in fantasy I've ever read, so I'm obsessed. I'd highly recommend this. This was so good. So good. I will not stop raving about this series ever. Next question is new releases you haven't read yet but want to, or just new releases you haven't read yet. And I have 2 for this. So I have Everyone on This Train is a Suspect by Benjamin Stevenson. I got this when it came out. It came out in like January or February. I still haven't got to it, and I really want to read it this summer. It's just something about these kind of mysteries just screams summer to me. So I'm definitely going to try to fit this in somewhere. But I definitely will be getting to this because I really loved the first one. I gave it 5 stars. It's about a young writer who writes like crime stories, and then he starts solving his own crimes that he's involved in, and is very like funny and fun, and that's my kind of mystery. So I definitely want to get to this. And then Mislaid in Parts Half Known by Shauna McGuire. This is the 9th Wayward Children book. I don't know how many we're up to now, but this one came out in January. A new one releases like every January, and I always just save it to like the fall time, which means that by the time the next one comes out, I tend to like get it right away and then save it until fall time. So I need to get to this, but again, I just feel like there's something so cozy about them that I want to save them for fall when it's like the weather's starting to get cold. So this one, it has to do with dinosaurs, and I've heard mixed reviews on it, but I'm excited to get to it because I always just like being back in this world. It's just very comforting, and I really like the way Shauna McGuire writes and the care she puts towards all these different stories about children who are going through hard things. So I really, really need to get to both of these soon. Okay, so next is anticipated releases. I will try to put up on the screen their release dates because I don't know them off the top of my head, but I know really soon coming out is the Ornithologist Field Guide for to Love by India Holton. I read the Wisteria Society of Lady Scoundrels. I forget what that like series is called. Lady Scoundrels. That series. And I really loved it. It was really fun and witty and just like a silly, goofy time. And so I'm excited to pick this one up. I think it's about two ornithologists and they end up falling in love, and that's really all I need to know. Then we have A T. Kingfisher, A Sorceress Comes to Call. That one's going to be like a full-length book and I think a fantasy, so I've already pre-ordered that and will read anything T. Kingfisher at this point. I know Alexis Henderson has an Academy for Liars coming out. Don't know when that's coming out, but I definitely, after reading House of Hunger, I'm going to pick it up and try it. I think it's Dark Academia-esque, which will be fun. Then we have The Scholar and the Fairy by H.G. Perry. This one is a historical fantasy, and I really liked The Magician's Daughter, so I really want to give this one a try as well. Oh, A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping by Sangu Mandana, who wrote, because I said that one, I can't remember the name now, The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. I really liked that one as well. It was like a cozy fantasy romance, and so I'm excited to give this one a try as well, because I really enjoyed it, and I need more cozy fantasy in my life. And then this one I've already read, but I'm excited for it to come out, is The Dead Cattails Assassin by P. Jelly Clark. I will be picking up when it gets out. I gave it 4 stars, or 4.5 stars, and I really, really liked it, and I do want to reread it because it's a novella, and I think I could have a lot of fun just rereading it. I just love his novellas. They're so good and like jam-packed with stuff, but not in a way that feels overwhelming. So that comes out soon, and I will be picking that up as well, even though I've already read it. Next is biggest disappointments, and I have 2 for this. I feel like it's really hard for me to narrow down answers to just one book. I have 2 for different reasons. So the first is Bunny by Mona Wad. This I ended up giving 3 stars. 3 stars. And I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it. And this one was just such a divisive book, and I feel like it was so hyped up for me because I've just seen so many people love it, and I didn't feel either way. Like, I didn't love it or hate it. I just feel like I didn't get it. Truly, like, don't understand what happened in this book. And so it was just disappointing because I really wanted to, like, either love it or hate it. Like, I wanted to have a strong emotion about this book because so many people talk about it and have so many feelings towards it, but I just kind of felt nothing. So that's sad. It's about a girl who goes to, like, writing school, like, a master's program, and she starts meeting up with these people that call themselves the bunnies, and I don't know, weird stuff starts going down, and I can't really tell you more because I didn't understand it. So that's Bunny. And then this one I think is more upsetting maybe than that one. That one's just disappointment because I hyped it up so much in my head. But this one just, I don't know. It didn't do anything like horribly offensive, but it's just one of those things where every time I see it I get a little upset about it. And it's The Fairy Bargains of Prospect Hill by Rowena Miller. I bought this brand new and read it, and I think I gave it like 2 stars. It was about this family who made bargains with the fairies back in the day, and then now they're still, generations later, still doing that, and we're following 2 different women, both sisters, who start getting involved with the fairies for various reasons, and most of the book was like very boring with like very little magical intrigue, and it's supposed to be historical fantasy. And then we get into like the fantasy bit of it, and all of it I just was waiting for it to end. Like, the whole thing was just super boring to me, which was sad because I want to go into every book loving it, and this one just like upset me in that I was so bored by it that it made me upset. So I don't have that a lot with books. Usually I just DNF, but this one I was really trying to push through because I was making like a spring reading vlog. The spring vibes were there, it just was boring. So that's that one. Disappointed. Now we're on to biggest surprise of the year, and that has to be Gideon and Harrow. This is part of a series. Gideon's the first, Harrow's the second. And you probably have seen these before if you read fantasy a lot. They're very popular, and for good reason, but I was so intimidated by these that I put these off for years because everyone said it was weird and confusing. And the second one is definitely more confusing than the first one, but I thought it was going to be like hard to read because I really struggle with books where they're saying a lot of things, but I can't like make out what it means. Bunny was kind of like that, where it's like reads more like a fever dream, so it just doesn't make sense. Where this was deliberately confusing, but the writing itself made sense. But I gave these both 5 stars. These were so great. They have everything I like in them. They have humor, witty banter, murder mystery. This one's like a locked room mystery because they're locked on this island. And there's like different challenges they have to do, and it was just so much fun. And I loved Gideon as a character. I loved being in her head, and just it was great. And then this one, from just like what Tamsin Muir was doing, just like was so cool, and finding out at the end how everything was happening and made all the confusing bits like make sense to me. It was so much fun. I really, really loved it. And basically when people say like lesbian necromancers in space, like that's pretty much all you need to know with like a murder mystery plot. It was amazing. Biggest surprise of the year because I was worried I wasn't gonna like them, and I ended up loving them. New favorite author. It's supposed to be like new to me or debut, but this one, I just really feel like I've really solidified him as a favorite author, and that's P. Djeli Clark. So I had read A Master of Jinn last year and really, really loved it, and I had read Ring Shout. But this year I read 3 more of his works, and I just really love the way he writes fantasy and the way he crafts novellas. They're especially novellas. They're just so good, and I love the fantasy aspects of them. And so he's really become a favorite author because I've started to just want to read everything he's written, and to me that's always a sign of a favorite author. So I still need to get his novellas. I only have Ring Shout, I think. I don't have any of his other novellas, so I really need to get to them. But I read The Black God Drums, Dead Cat Tales Assassins, but I love them all. He's got like a steampunk element to all his books, and I really, really enjoy him. So he's definitely become a favorite author. I would say S.A. Chakraborty has also become a favorite author because I read last year The Adventures of Mina al-Sarafi and enjoyed it, gave that 5 stars. And then I've read now the Daevabad trilogy and loved it, so I will be picking up whatever she comes out with. So those 2 I think are the new favorite authors in my mind. Next question is my fictional crush for this year. And for that, I think I'm going to go again with Wendell Brambleby. I think I said this last year, but I read the second book this year. And he continues to be my favorite, like, fictional crush kind of character. I just think he's so fun and so dramatic, and I'm here for the drama. So I think I'm going to go with Wendell. And then the next question is new favorite character, and for that, I think I'm going to go with Warren and Felivox from The Hexologist. This wasn't my favorite book. I think I ended up giving it 3.5 stars, but I would spend an entire day or week or month with Warren and Felivox. They are so, so funny. Iconic together. So Warren is the husband to Isilda, who like solves mysteries and crimes, and he helps her, but then there is another creature called Felivox that they find, and I don't want to give it away, but they're dynamic. If you know, you know. I loved it, and they're definitely my new favorite characters. I would definitely spend a lot of time with them. Next is a book that made me cry, and for that one I am going with This Thing Between Us by Gus Moreno. I don't think I actually fully cried, but I was very close, and that's only because I was reading this on audiobook at work, and so I could not be crying at my desk. But this is a grief horror that is about a young man, Thiago, who loses his wife, and throughout that he starts to have like things happening in their home that was kind of happening before, but it was with a smart speaker, and since his wife's death, he is like connecting more and more with what was going on with their smart speaker to like why she passed and things. As things are getting weirder, he has more connections with like his wife Vera's mom, and it's just very sad. Really takes you through the gambit of emotions and grief, and just like seeing him have to deal with losing this person who meant everything to him was just heartbreaking. And there was just so many like lines in here that made me like tear up because they were so powerful. And so this is definitely one that made me cry. It was very sad and like has really stuck with me. So I'm definitely going with This Thing Between Us by Gus Moreno. So the next one is books that made me happy, and for that I have 2. So the first one is Jamila Green, Ruins Everything by Zarka Nawaz. This is just like happy because it's so ridiculous, over the top, and funny that I just had such a good time. It made me smile and laugh. So it's about a woman who wants to have her book become a bestseller, and so she's trying to make a deal with God to do that, and she goes to an imam, and he tells her that she needs to help this homeless person. So they go to help a homeless person. They end up getting wrapped up in like a terrorist organization and having to like go undercover, and it's just ridiculous and over the top. It's full of humor. This is a satire, and it just worked so well for me and made me laugh the entire time. So that's Jamila Green. And then on the other side, for cozy thing that made me happy, is Lightfall by Tim Probert. This just made me so happy because it just is one of those books that like you just read and you have to smile because it's so cute and sweet. I mean, like, look at that. Does that not make you want to smile? It's about a young girl who lost her father, and she goes on an adventure to try to find him, and she meets up with this like warrior guy who is just very like fun and just like bubbly, but there's more like to him than you know, and you start to learn that throughout. And she's dealing with a lot of anxiety, and he kind of like helps her to like get out of her comfort zone, and it's just so sweet, so cute. Love the art style. So definitely these two for books that made me happy. Next book is The Most Beautiful Book You Bought, and I'm really trying not to double up on books that I talk about in this, but I can't. It's definitely Emily Wilde's Map the Other Lands. This is the UK version, and I just love it so much. Like, this is like my perfect cover in a book. Perfect book too. So yeah, so it's definitely this one for prettiest book. But I also really like The Husbands. There's just something about the simplicity of this design with the colors that I really, really love. So this would be like a close second. Then there's books I need to read before the end of the year, so I have a little stack here. I have a lot of books that I need to read before the end of the year, but these are kind of the ones I just pulled off that are kind of top of mind. The first one I have is Senlin Ascends by Josiah Bancroft, because I read The Hexologist and really enjoyed it. But wanting to try this because he's got like a quirky, fun writing style that really works for me, where it's just like a little bit ridiculous. And I've heard good things about this, so I really want to get to it, and this is kind of dumb, but the third one is at Half Price Books. I keep seeing it every time I go, but I don't want to buy it till I read the first one, and I'm like, I really need to read the first one so I can get the third one, because it's like $6, $7 for a paperback. You can't beat that. But I'm trying really hard not to buy the next book in a series before I've read the first one and know if I like it. Then I really want to continue the Murderbot series. This one is the next one, Exit Strategy. I need to read just the fourth one, but I kind of took a pause on them, and I really want to get back to it because I really like continuing the series that I have like a fondness for, and I have the rest of them so I can just read them, but I've just taken a little bit of a break and I need to get back to it. Then I need to finish The Last Devil to Die. I need to finish the series because it's a 4 and he's taking a really long break. I don't know if he's ever coming back or this is the end, but I need to get to it because I've been meaning to, and the reason I've been putting it off is that so many people who love the series say they bawled their eyes out at this one, and when I know I'm gonna cry, I just like want to avoid it at all costs. But I'm really excited to get to it, and I want to, and I think I know what's coming, and so it's difficult. Then this one I want to read in the fall for a reading vlog, and that's September House by Carissa Orlando. I just think I'm gonna like this. I've heard it's kind of a cozier like horror, but I think I'm gonna like it, and I do know there are some content warnings in here, but I feel prepared for them, so yeah. I just really want to get to this haunted house type story. I think it'll be perfect for fall. And then I want to get to The Reformatory by Tanana Riudu. This one I've just been hearing such good reviews, and I did start it and I wasn't in like the best headspace for it, so I want to continue this later, probably like end of summer, fall. That sounds like the perfect time for this, so I will be getting to it soon, hopefully, but I definitely want to read it this year because I've just heard so many good reviews and I can't wait to get to it. And I've also just really need to read hers as a horror reader. I've just heard such amazing things about Tanana Riudu, and I've never really read anything by her, so I need to get to it. Next question though is favorite video of the year that I made so far, and I think for this I'm gonna go with the Come Book Shopping With Me video, where I went around to independent bookstores because they were doing a indie book crawl, and I went to like 4 different bookstores, and it was just really fun to film. I liked supporting the local bookstores and just like doing that videoing and taking you around and like collecting all the books. I just think was so fun, and it was just a very different format than what I normally do, so I really enjoyed that and I'm pretty proud of it. I think it came out really good, and it was very out of my comfort zone because filming with other people around is very difficult for me, so I think I did a good job with that one and I'm proud of it. And then the last question is name some bookish creators you've been watching and enjoying. So the first one I have is Karen, who is my friend. Her handle is Roving Reader, and she's just like the sweetest human. And I just love her videos and books, and she's been traveling lately, and so she's got a lot of travel vlogs that have to do somewhat with books and some not, but it's just like, she's just a joy to talk to and to watch, so I always will recommend her. And then I've been watching Erin from Booked and Busy, and if you haven't watched her stuff, you really should go check out her video, because she just put out her video where she reads until she gets 5-star, and she was going through it. I think it was like 470 days or something since she had a 5-star book. She finally got a 5-star, and it was just, she was really going through it, so I feel like that video deserves all of the love. So the next one I have is Stephanie from Stephanie Bookish, and she's just so sweet, and I love watching her videos. She made like a video where she talked about being a librarian and like learning things about the library, and I just learned so much from that video just listening to her talk about like how they acquire books and like what it's like to be a librarian. I just thought that was so cool, and seeing her like passion for it was really, really cool. But I also really like her reading vlogs. I just think they're fun, and I enjoy like watching her. She's just such a sweet personality. So that's stuff. And then the last person I want to recommend is Tatiana Vogt. I think that's how you pronounce her last name. I'm not sure, but Tatiana. I love watching her TBR videos every month. She does this like TBR where she like rolls a dice, and I can't remember what she calls it, but she has to move on a board. And it's just always so fun to watch, because if she rolls double, she has to add a book, and the chaos of it is just so fun. And then I really do like her reading vlogs too. She can read like so many books. It's amazing. But my favorite is definitely watching her TBR videos, because they're just so fun. Every month I have to tune in. So those are the bookish creators I've been watching and following, so you should give them a watch too. But that is going to be the end of this video. That is the mid-year freakout tag. I am so happy to have gotten here, but a little bit crazy that we're already halfway through the year. I hope to have more 5-stars in the end of the year, because I feel like I was a little bit less on 5-stars, so I'm hoping I can really find some gems in the last half of the year. I've already started. In June, I had a lot more 5-stars than I did before, so it's looking up. But thank you for watching, and if you made it to the end of the video, if you want to leave a book stack emoji down below, I love it, and I will see you next time.